Hello, everybody. Bill Thornton, SoCalSabre. Thank you for stopping by on Saturday to find out what I listened to this week in from my music collections. Yeah, we got some albums and CDs. Some albums went into the collection, some came out of the collection, CDs out of the collections. So we got a variety. We're starting off this first one with an album that I had a tough time with. Either it said 1970 or 1972 release, and it's called Steppenwolf 7. I have two LPs in the collection by Steppenwolf, and I do have a personal connection to Steppenwolf and Captain and Tennille, we might want to say. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. This was the fifth studio album. There's no inner, and there is an inner, but it's just a plain sleeve. So, which I don't use paper sleeve, which I won't use anymore. And the fifth album by Steppenwolf. And the album's numerical title, 7, Steppenwolf 7, reflects the fact that it was the band's seventh album released for ABC Downhill Records, including the 4 preceding LPs as well as 2 live albums. This said, featured, what I think of Steppenwolf rock, it's trademark rock and roll sounds, for sure classic rock and somewhat hard rock. I did hear a little psychedelic and a few little blues in this one also, and what was my link? Well, I had the privilege of working with a gentleman named Morgan Cavett for years when I was with Shenanigans Youth Theater Group, and he was also with Shenanigans, besides doing the stuff he did down in Hollywood. And he was a personal friend of John Kay's, and he was actually a producer on some of the albums that Steppenwolf put out. He had a studio, I think it was called Moon River Studios out in Pinion Hills, California. And I had to go up there a couple times to do some record. We had to record some music for a show that was going on with the youth theater group. And it was kind of cool to walk in, and there was the big gold albums that he had worked on that turned gold, and he had them on his wall. That was pretty neat. Uh, I said Captain and Tennille. He credits himself with introducing them to each other. So that's pretty cool too. We'll see how that. I don't know how true that is, but I don't have no reason to distrust them. So that was the start of the week off with my link to Steppenwolf, Steppenwolf 7. We'll say from 1970. Anybody out there like Steppenwolf? Put your comments down there. You know Morgan Cavett or John Kay? Let me know. One of the regrets I do have when Morgan passed away, his wife contacted me and they were having a big celebration of life in LA, and I did not go down there. I do regret that because I probably would have met a lot of neat people. But it was more about Morgan than me meeting people. So, anyway, go down there, take a second while I get this next one ready. Hit that like button. And if you're watching and you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Help the channel grow. We're getting a slow growth. I think we're up 39 as of this morning, but there's a lot of people in the vinyl community, and I'm really trying to get this thing taking off. If you have recommendations of I can make this channel better for you, the viewer, please let me know in the remarks section. So this next one here, this is titled A Portrait of Bobby from 1971. Bobby Sherman. It's the only thing I have in the collection by him. And it was the fifth album by him. When I got that bundle of stuff from, what do you call it? This is kind of strange way it opens up too. It opens up like this, and then you can make it and turn it into an easel. There's no inner. When I first got that bundle of whatnot things, I said, "Oh, Bobby Sherman, he's like from the '60s." That maybe I'll hear some of that good old '60s music that came out during that time. He did have hits from between 1962 and 1976. 7 of his songs were top 40 hits. He earned 7 gold singles, 1 platinum, and 5 gold albums. Why don't I remember? But because there was nothing on this album that I would have remembered being a major hit back in the day. This, for lack of better words, this album was pretty bubblegum, pop and bubblegum. I went up I went up on Amazon. I found that album, Amazon Music, and I played 3 of the songs on there. I didn't recall any of them. So you can see it was a teen idol, pretty nicely looking young man, I would say, and had some big hits. He also played parts in quite a few TV shows. And then the strange thing that I thought was strange, he left show business in the 70s to pursue another career. And what was that career? To be a paramedic and a deputy sheriff. How do you believe in that? And it's in the collection now. It'll probably only gather dust. So for this week, I'm only going to give Bobby, the portrait of Bobby, a fair rating of big F. Get a little sip of my coffee here and we'll get going. We'll keep going. The next album is a 1977 LP titled Reunion. It is by Country Joe and the Fish. Still in shrink. Look at that budget price on there. $2.98. It was a six studio album by Country Joe and the Fish, and they're kind of considered kind of a psychedelic rock group. This album I didn't find very psychedelic. Maybe it's just my definitions of those things. I found it more country rock. After 5 successful albums and an appearance on Woodstock, they disbanded in 1970. And this was the reunion to try to get them back together again in 77. Let's just see some more of those pictures. I wanted to put this one on the turntable. My hopes for, like, you remember him at Woodstock at 1, 2, 3, 4, what are we fighting for? That type of music. Didn't get it. Didn't get it. And so I was not too pleased with the songs. But not too pleased. I'm just a little pleased. This was better than Portrait of Bobby, so I'm going to give this one a fair plus for the week. That was Reunion, the 1977 LP by Country Joe and the Fish. We are moving along. And the next one here is one of my purchases at the In-Groove when I was in Phoenix. And this is a 2025 reissue. So Rocktober reissue of the 2002 album 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by A Dream Theater. Guys, any Dream Theater fans out there? Let me know what you think of this one here. This was the 6th album by the progressive metal band. It's a concept heavy album. Built built around psychological struggle, human fragility, and the search for understanding. The songs, they cover rehabilitation from alcoholism, religious beliefs, stem cell research, and death. The song itself, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, covers both sides of the second album. Side part one on the first side, part two on the second side. And because of the length, I'll show you. I don't want to. Let's see if we got any inners to show you. I do have an inner in here. Let's take a look at that one. There we got lyrics. Yeah, lyrics on the back. Because of the length, if they were going to put it on one LP, which was their standard or their normal back in then, they would have had to cut out 2 songs. And so they didn't like that, and the company, the label, for the first time, agreed to put out a 2 LP album by them. I'm glad they did. It was been a shame to cut out a couple of them songs on there. This one is on clear. The album made it on 15 different charts. I like this one a lot. The concepts had me thinking a lot during this about different things in my life and different things in the world. And I guess that's what a concept album is supposed to do. But I did like it a lot. I enjoyed the music composition. They are really, really good musicians in here in Dream Theater. And yes, one of my heavier albums that I've had so far. One of them. I've had a few heavier ones, and another one by Dream Theater I did last year. And it may just open me up to some more prog metal and prog rock, heavier stuff. So, because I liked it a lot, and it really made me thinking, for this one here, I'm going VG Plus for the week. And this is 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, the 2025 reissue of the 2002 album by Dream Theater. Any Dream Theater fans out there? How about prog rock or prog metal, whatever they call all of those things? Okay, now we're getting to the CD portion of the week, and lo and behold, I pulled the first one out. Like last week, we ended up with the chorus line, and the Eagles. The first one is another soundtrack. And this is the 1994 album, the soundtrack for The Lion King. You know, this is written by Elton John and Tim Rice, and the scores were made by Hans Zimmer. This was recorded in 3 different countries, the US, the UK, and South Africa. Now, I like the South African entry to the music, the Circle of Life songs, and I really enjoyed this. Did I ever see the movie? No, I never saw the movie. Slide of text, lyrics, credits, lyrics, no pictures. And a nice little booklet. You can see the tracks on there. It became the best-selling soundtrack album to any animated film in the United States with over 7 million copies sold. Wow. It was 4.5 million sold just in 1994. Charted on 13 different charts in #1 in 4 different countries. I can relate to that because I really did like this. Hans Zimmer was awarded the Academy Award for the best original score in the 67th Academy Awards in 1995. Elton John and Tim Rice won an Academy Award for the best original song with Can You Feel the Love Tonight. They were also nominated for 2 others. I enjoyed hearing this a lot. Enjoyed it. So I am going to give Mr. Elton John, Tim Rice, and Hans Zimmer a VG plus for the week. Anybody see the movie? I didn't. Let me know if you liked it or not. I've never been too much on animated films or films going to check those things out like that. So probably missed out. Heard a lot of good stuff about it. All right, second CD of the week, number 199. We're going to be hitting 200 next week. Is the 1994 release Street Angel by Stevie Nicks, her 3rd studio album. The album peaked at number 45 on the Billboard Top 200 charts and has been certified gold. Now, from what I read now, Stevie Nicks wasn't particularly inspired during the creation of Street Angel. She had a lot of things going on in her life, and this was the lowest charting record of her solo career, peaking at only number 45 in the U.S. For another lot, she had a lot going on with her. She had just recently left Fleetwood Mac. She had just finished a rehabilitation stint for drug addiction, a lot of other personal things. But when she wasn't happy with the producers, did a lot of things going on in her life that really did not contribute to a successful album. I understand when she got out of rehab, she went back in and tried to do some overdubs and some singing and that, but it really didn't work out very well. Okay. And when I said the lowest charting, the first week sales of only 38,000. And it only spent 3 weeks in the top 100. For sure, far from her best work. Why did I pick this one up? I don't know. Maybe because I just like Stevie Nicks, and I wanted to hear it away from Fleetwood Mac. I wanted to hear a little bit more from her from there. But that's probably why I picked it up. But far from her best work. So the highest I can go for her this week is good. G. It's a good. It kept me going. But when it didn't keep my foot tapping. Okay, don't forget at the end of the week, at the end of the review, I'm going to tell you the 2 that I had the most fun with this week or brought back memories. Last thing we got is the album coming out of the collection, already in the collection, number 106. And you saw part of it on the thumbnail. And it's Phoenix, 1979 LP by Dan Fogelberg. And I have 2 LPs in the collection by Fogelberg. This was his 6th studio album. Peaked at number 3 on the Billboard's pop chart and top 50 in 2 other charts. Take a look at what the album looks like here. Nice colorful labels. Played VG Plus on the turntable for its age. 47 years old, and I did buy this originally. not recently. And so, I read some of the reviews on this, and they weren't too kind. There was such things like overuse of guitars, overuse of overdubbing too much. Well, how can I tell overdubbing? I'm not an expert. I don't know about that. And the use of guitars, I only say what I like, what I heard, whether I liked it or not. Okay, and because I'm not an expert, I found the album to be a good mixture of those things, guitars and the sounds and so forth. It was nice and mellow, pretty soft, and so for me, I'm gonna go VGM. Very good on for the week. That was the last one of the week, Phoenix, the 1979 LP by Dan Fogelberg. All right, let's go back and take a look and see which two I should pick that sent me back in time. Of course, I should have picked Steppenwolf 7 because of my connection to Steppenwolf, but I think I've already done one like that before. Portrait of Bobby, no. Reunion by Country Joe, no. First one I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater. What a good double LP that. If you like some heavy stuff, and check that out if you're a Dream Theater fan and don't have it. If you're not a Dream Theater fan, check it out anyway. You might like it. The second thing I think I'm going to pick, I'm going to pick I'm going to pick the Lion King soundtrack from 1994. I had a lot of things to think about when I was listening to that one also. I was with Shenanigans. We did some of those songs in our shows and stuff in that. Phoenix would have been my next one if I could have got a third one in. So that's it for the week. The Lion King and 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater. Put some comments down there. What'd you listen to this week? If you had your way of picking these ones, which ones would you have picked? Let me know down there. SoCalSabre saying, take care of yourself. Thanks for stopping by. Be kind to each other. Stay safe.